Hi guys, and welcome to my review for Child of Light. Child of Light is a game that I only really picked up because it was free on Xbox Live as one of their giveaways for being on Gold. But I'm pretty glad that I did. It's actually very, very good. It's kind of an RPG in the style of old style Final Fantasy, but there's a lot of little twists on it that make it a very impressive game to play. I mean, there's not really anything about this game that I can fault, aside from the fact that it's kind of very basic, but I get the feeling that's more of a choice than something that was done by mistake. I think it was supposed to be a very simple game. Everything pretty much leads me to that conclusion, that it's supposed to be a simple game, quick and easy to play, because it's more about the story than the gameplay from what I can see. But then the gameplay does have some very interesting ideas, like for instance the use of what could be you can actually use the Firefly as a playable character. It can be controlled by player 2, but it opens up a lot of possibilities. Like for instance, out in the world exploring, there are certain buttons that can only be activated by using its light, and there are certain chests which can only be opened by using its light, by filling them with light in the Firefly. And so it's not like he's just floating around not really doing very much, so there's still going to be stuff for player 2 to do. In combat, he actually is, you can use him as a form of magic. If you place him over an enemy and then use magic, as you can see me doing there, it actually slows the enemy down in the bar at the bottom, which shows you where you are in the queue for performing moves. Combat it's simple, but it's just tactical enough to be enjoyable. It's not a basic, I hit them a couple of times and they die. After a short while, you do have to start using a little bit more tactical thought. But all in all, it's not massively difficult, even so. I mean, this is a look at the skill tree, so the skill tree actually has kind of a lot to it as well, but not overwhelmingly so. Not too much. It's not like Final Fantasy games where there's a million different things that you can choose from and a million different ways to go. It's linear, but there's enough choice that it's actually a choice, rather than a straight progression. Like for instance, leveling up in Battlefield, it's just straight progression. You move to the next thing and that's it. As far as the game itself goes, I mean, that's kind of combat and exploration, and the good points with that. But as far as the game itself goes, as you can see, it's got a very it's got a beautiful style to it. It's a very, very beautiful aesthetic to it, and it actually has a very good story. It has a story that is not something that I would normally really go for, because it doesn't contain soldiers and shooting and tanks. But even so, I like it. I really do. It's not often that games grab me as much as this one has. I really actually want her to succeed in achieving her aims. I'm not going to give too much about the story away, just purely because I want you to, if you do play this as a result of watching this, I want you to experience it properly without going into it with any ideas about what the story actually is. But the story and the art style and everything come together very, very well to make a very unique and very pretty game. Even the enemies and the animation, as simple as it is very, very pretty. It's very, very nice. It's a nice world to be in. It's a nice world to inhabit. Another one of the combat mechanics that you can see in this bit here, though, is the fact that you still have to top up the Firefly's light levels using the trees around the area. So it's just something else to bear in mind. I mean, there is actually a higher difficulty level. I'm playing it on normal. At this point in time, on normal, it's relatively difficult to die. Unless you make some hideous mistakes, it's relatively difficult to die. But you still have to think fairly tactically. I mean, especially in boss battles, you actually do have to think about what you're doing. But yeah, it's challenging enough to be good, but not to the point where it puts you off. Sometimes Final Fantasy games, the boss battles are so intense that, especially in the older ones, newer ones not quite so much, but in the older ones, the boss battles got so intense at times that you die after half an hour of constantly going down, reviving, and then you just put the game down and leave for a short while because you did not want to do it again. But this isn't quite that serious. On the harder difficulty, maybe, but for the most part, I wouldn't have thought so. I'm going to actually mention this, I wasn't going to, but from an achievement hunting perspective, it's a very simple game to get all the achievements on. Just looking at the achievements list itself, it's pretty simple to get all the achievements. There's a couple of ones that you get through battles, but not really so much. There's one or two, maybe three that take actual skill and a little bit of planning, but for the most part, I wouldn't say so. Leveling up does happen a lot, it's got to be said. You do level up very quickly. This isn't a grindy game. You're not going to have to grind out for hours and hours and hours to get a level. I mean, unlike Final Fantasy VII, for instance, which was ridiculous for that towards the end, you're not going to have to grind out for hours to get to the next level. It's probably going to be a couple of battles of enemies of your current level to get to the next level. So yeah, all in all, very, very pretty game with a good story that will probably catch you, and yeah, just something to give a go. I would very definitely advise you to give this a go. I mean, let's face it, right now it's free, but even when you actually have to pay for it, I'd say it's good enough to actually pay for.